Think you know everything about the TV Western Bronco? From Declaration of Independence descendants to Miss Universe marriages, drug trafficking arrest to turning down Batman, this series and its star had secrets stranger than any script. Here are the 15 weird facts you didn't know about Bronco, 1958 to 1962. Fact 1. Born from a contract dispute. Most television shows are carefully planned months or even years in advance, but Bronco came into existence because of an emergency at Warner Brothers. In 1958, Clint Walker, the towering 6'6" star of the hit Western series Cheyenne, walked off his show in the middle of production after a bitter contract dispute with the studio. Walker had legitimate grievances with Warner Brothers, objecting to contract clauses that required him to hand over half of all his personal appearance fees back to the studio and forced him to record music exclusively for Warner-owned record labels. When neither side would budge during negotiations, Warner Brothers faced a serious problem. They had a successful time slot but no star to fill it. Rather than cancel Cheyenne entirely, the studio made a hasty decision to create a replacement character. They brought in a virtually unknown actor named Ty Hardin and quickly developed a new character called Bronco Lane, who was introduced as Cheyenne Bodie's country cousin. The show kept the Cheyenne title initially, even though Walker was gone. This rushed production meant Bronco was literally created as a placeholder, yet Hardin proved so popular with audiences that when Walker eventually settled his dispute and returned to Cheyenne in 1959, Warner Brothers decided to give Hardin his own spin-off series. What started as a stopgap measure to save a time slot became a successful show in its own right, running for 4 seasons and 68 episodes. Fact 2. The star's ridiculously long real name. When you saw Ty Hardin riding across the screen as Bronco Lane, you probably assumed his name was as straightforward as his character, but nothing could be further from the truth. The actor was born with the incredibly elaborate name Orison Whipple Hungerford Jr. on New Year's Day in 1930 in New York City. That middle name, Whipple, wasn't just a random family name. It carried genuine historical weight. Hardin was named after his ancestor William Whipple of New Hampshire, one of the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776. So the star of this Western show was actually a direct descendant of American Revolutionary history. When Hardin moved to Hollywood and tried to break into acting, he initially used the name Ty Hungerford, which was already a significant improvement over Orison Whipple. However, when Warner Brothers bought out his contract from Paramount Pictures and cast him in Cheyenne, the studio's executives decided even Hungerford wasn't quite right for a Western hero. They deliberately chose the surname Hardin as a tribute to John Wesley Hardin, one of the most notorious and deadly gunfighters in Old West history. By 1958, the transformation was complete, and Orison Whipple Hungerford Jr. had legally changed his name to Ty Hardin, erasing one piece of American history and adopting another. It's quite ironic that a man descended from a founding father ended up taking the name of an outlaw. Fact 3. Discovered. While renting a Halloween costume, Hollywood has countless stories about actors being discovered in unusual places, but Ty Hardin's entry into show business might be one of the strangest. In the mid-1950s, Hardin was working as an engineer at an aircraft factory in California, with no particular aspirations toward an acting career. One day, he needed a costume for a Halloween party and decided to dress as a cowboy. So he went to Western Costume, a famous motion picture costume rental company located on Melrose Avenue near Paramount Pictures. While Hardin was there renting a pair of revolvers and other cowboy gear for his party outfit, a Paramount Pictures talent scout happened to be in the shop and noticed him. The scout was immediately struck by Hardin's appearance, his height, his build, and his naturally photogenic features. Right there in the costume shop, the scout approached Hardin and offered him a contract with Paramount Pictures. Hardin, who had no acting training whatsoever, suddenly found himself with a studio contract simply because he walked into the right place at the right time. This random encounter completely changed the trajectory of his life. He went from being an engineer who just wanted a Halloween costume to a contract player at one of Hollywood's major studios. Within a couple of years, his contract would be transferred to Warner Brothers, and he'd become the star of Bronco, all because he needed to rent some props for a costume party. Fact 4. The bizarre comic book confusion. During the late 1950s and early 1960s, it was common for popular television shows to be adapted into comic books, and Bronco was no exception. Dell Comics, which published numerous Western television tie-ins, released 3 comic book issues featuring Ty Hardin as Bronco Lane. However, these comics created a strange piece of publishing history that confused readers then and continues to puzzle collectors today. Every single one of the 3 Bronco comic books was published with the Cheyenne label on the cover, despite the fact that the comics featured Ty Hardin and told Bronco Lane stories, not Cheyenne Bodie adventures. This wasn't a mistake on just one issue. It happened on all 3 publications. The covers clearly showed Ty Hardin in his Bronco costume, yet the title read Cheyenne. This odd branding decision happened because Bronco had originally been introduced within the Cheyenne television franchise when Clint Walker walked off his show. When Warner Brothers first created the Bronco character, they kept him under the Cheyenne umbrella title to maintain the show's brand recognition. Dell Comics apparently decided to continue this confusing arrangement even after Bronco became its own separate series. For comic book collectors and fans trying to track down Bronco memorabilia, this created a lasting problem. If you're searching for Bronco comics, you actually need to look for issues labeled Cheyenne that feature Ty Hardin on the cover. It's a strange footnote in television merchandising history. Fact 5. Cross-network inside jokes. Warner Brothers loved creating connections between their various television shows in the late 1950s and early 1960s. But one of the strangest was the running joke about Bronco that appeared in 77 Sunset Strip. In multiple episodes of that detective series, the character Jeff Spencer, played by Roger Smith, would make casual references to watching Bronco on television. In one 1960 episode titled Legend of Crystal Dart, Spencer says, "I guess I'll go home and watch Bronco." In another episode called The President's Daughter, he comments, "It looks so easy when Bronco Lane does it while struggling to mount a donkey." These weren't just random mentions. Warner Brothers was deliberately creating a fictional universe where their own shows existed as entertainment that characters in other shows watched. This was unusual for the time, as most television series maintained the illusion that their characters existed in the real world, not in a world where Warner Brothers television shows were on the air. The inside joke went even further when Ty Hardin himself appeared as a guest star on 77 Sunset Strip in 1961 in an episode called Strange Bedfellows, where he played a cowboy actor. The series had been referencing Hardin's character watching his show for months, and then Hardin showed up in person, creating a strange meta-television moment. This kind of self-referential humor was quite innovative for early 1960s television and showed how Warner Brothers viewed all their shows as part of one interconnected entertainment universe. Fact 6. Turned down Batman for Italian Westerns. By the mid-1960s, Ty Hardin's contract with Warner Brothers had expired, and he was making films in Europe, particularly in Italy and Spain, where American actors were in high demand for Western movies. Back in Hollywood, producers were developing a new television series based on the Batman comic book character, and according to multiple sources, Hardin was their first choice to play the Caped Crusader. The role would eventually make Adam West a household name and turn Batman into one of the most iconic television series of the 1960s. However, when the producers approached Hardin about playing Batman, he had to turn down the opportunity because he was already committed to making Western films overseas. These weren't major Hollywood productions, they were low-budget Italian Westerns that would later be nicknamed spaghetti Westerns. So Hardin chose to honor his European film contracts instead of returning to American television. The role of Batman went to Adam West, who became famous for his campy portrayal of the character. Looking back, this decision proved to be a massive turning point in Hardin's career trajectory, and not in a good way. While West became internationally recognized and enjoyed steady work for decades, Hardin's career in European films never reached the same level of success. The Italian Western boom faded, and Hardin found himself increasingly forgotten by American audiences. It's one of Hollywood's great what-if stories. How different would both careers have been if Hardin had taken the Batman role? Fact 7. Passed on Clint Eastwood's career-making role. The story of Ty Hardin turning down career-making roles doesn't end with Batman. Around the same time, Italian director Sergio Leone was casting his groundbreaking Western film A Fistful of Dollars, which was being shot in Spain. Leone had originally wanted big-name stars like Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, or James Coburn for the lead role, but budget constraints meant he needed someone less expensive. Hardin's name came up as a possibility, and he was offered the part of the mysterious man with no name. However, Hardin read the script and turned it down because he objected to the film's violence and harsh language. Years later, he explained his decision in an interview, saying he didn't like the film and wasn't interested in promoting bad language, excess violence, and what he saw as a neglect of moral values. He specifically mentioned that his Baptist grandmother would turn over in her grave if he made such a movie. The role went instead to Clint Eastwood, who was then known mainly for the television series Rawhide. A Fistful of Dollars became a massive international hit, revolutionized the Western genre, and launched Eastwood into movie superstardom. It led to 2 sequels and established Eastwood as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Meanwhile, Hardin continued making forgettable European films that few people remember today. In hindsight, turning down both Batman and A Fistful of Dollars meant Hardin rejected 2 of the most iconic roles in 1960s entertainment, decisions that essentially ended his chance at major stardom. Fact 8. Jack Nicholson's early appearance before he became one of Hollywood's greatest actors, winning 3 Academy Awards and starring in countless classic films, Jack Nicholson was a struggling young actor taking whatever work he could find. In 1961, he appeared in an episode of Bronco titled The Equalizer, playing a character named Bob Doolin. This was during the show's 4th and final season, when Nicholson was still years away from his breakthrough role in Easy Rider. In the Equalizer episode, Nicholson played a young lover caught up in a yod story involving feuding outlaw gangs led by Butch Cassidy and Billy Doolin. The episode also featured veteran character actor Jack Elam, who was already well established in westerns. At this point in his career, Nicholson was doing exactly what countless young actors did in the late 1950s and early 1960s, working on Warner Brothers television shows to gain experience and earn money. Warner Brothers had a stable of contract players and regularly used the same pool of young actors across their various series. Guest spots on shows like Bronco, Cheyenne, Maverick, and 77 Sunset Strip were considered good training grounds for new talent. Nobody watching The Equalizer when it aired could have predicted that this young actor playing Bob Doolin would go on to win Oscars for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Terms of Endearment, and As Good as It Gets. For fans of classic television and film history, tracking down this Bronco episode offers a fascinating glimpse of Nicholson before fame, when he was just another journeyman actor trying to build a career. Fact 9. The Texas Typhoon nickname origin. The name Ty Hardin always seemed perfectly suited for a Western hero, strong, simple, and masculine. But the nickname Ty wasn't chosen by Hollywood image makers or studio executives. It came from a much more personal source. When Orison Whipple Hungerford Jr. was a young boy, his parents divorced, and he spent considerable time living with his grandmother in Texas. According to family stories, the boy was extraordinarily energetic and active, constantly moving around and getting into things the way young children do. His grandmother started calling him Ty as a shortened nickname, but it wasn't just short for Tyrone or Tyler. She specifically chose Ty because she said he was as active as a Texas typhoon, a whirlwind of constant motion and energy tearing through her house. The nickname captured both his personality and his Texas roots in one simple syllable. As he grew up, the nickname stuck, and everyone who knew him called him Ty rather than Orison. When he eventually pursued an acting career and needed a more marketable name than Orison Whipple Hungerford, Ty was the natural choice because it's what he'd been called most of his life. In 1958, he legally changed his entire name from Orison Whipple Hungerford Jr. to Ty Hardin, making it official. So every time viewers watched Bronco and heard the name Ty, they were actually hearing a grandmother's affectionate nickname for her hyperactive grandson. It's a surprisingly sweet origin story for a name that became associated with tough Western heroes and gunslinging cowboys. Fact 10. Married to Miss Universe, Among Ty Hardin's 8 marriages, one stands out as particularly glamorous and connected to Hollywood's golden age. In 1962, during the height of Bronco's success, Hardin married Marlene Schmidt, a German beauty queen who had won the Miss Universe title in 1961. Their meeting wasn't a typical Hollywood romance. It happened because Hardin was serving as one of the judges for the Miss Universe pageant while he was filming the war movie PT 109, which depicted President John F. Kennedy's experiences during World War II. As a judge, Hardin voted for Schmidt, and the two apparently developed a connection during the pageant. After she won the crown, they began a relationship that led to marriage the following year. Schmidt wasn't just a beauty queen, she also worked in the movie industry after her pageant career, so they shared the entertainment world in common. During their marriage, which lasted from 1962 to 1966, they had one daughter together. This was Hardin's third marriage, and it came during a period when he was transitioning from television success to attempting a film career. The marriage to Miss Universe fit perfectly with his image as a handsome television star living the Hollywood lifestyle. However, like most of Hardin's marriages, it didn't last. They divorced after 4 years, and Hardin would go on to marry 5 more times. In a 2010 interview, Hardin reflected on his many marriages, admitting that the demanding nature of the entertainment industry had caused him to get his priorities messed up and his values screwed up when it came to relationships. Fact 11. 8 marriages, 7 divorces. Even by Hollywood standards, Ty Hardin's marital history was extraordinary. Over the course of his life, he married 8 different women and divorced 7 of them, staying married to his 8th wife until his death in 2017. From these 8 marriages, he had 10 children with 5 different wives. His matrimonial record reads like a timeline of his career, with marriages beginning and ending as his professional life went through various phases. His first marriage to Nancy Smith began in 1952 when he was still just starting out. His second wife was actress Andra Martin, whom he married in 1958 during Bronco's launch. Then came Marlene Schmidt, Miss Universe 1961, followed by Francine Nobel, Jenny Atkins, Lindell Hardin, and Judy McNeil, whom he was married to for 19 years, his longest marriage by far. Finally, in 2007, he married Carolyn Pampu, who would be his final wife. In a remarkably candid interview given in 2010, Hardin openly discussed why his marriages kept failing. He explained that during his television and film career, the entertainment industry was so demanding and he was so dedicated to his work that he became consumed by it. He admitted that he was married to Miss Universe at one time, but never really got to know her because he was so focused on his career. He specifically said the industry caused him to get his values screwed up and his priorities all messed up, acknowledging that he put his work ahead of his relationships with his wives. Fact 12. Bible reading between takes. Despite playing a tough Confederate Army veteran who wandered the Old West solving problems with his fists and his gun, Ty Hardin was deeply religious in his personal life, and he didn't hide it on the set of Bronco. Crew members and fellow actors frequently observed Hardin during breaks in filming reaching into his saddlebags, the leather pouches that his character wore on horseback, and pulling out a Bible to read during quiet moments between scenes. This wasn't an occasional occurrence. It happened regularly throughout the production of the series. Hardin's religious faith had deep roots in his background. Before joining the Army and serving in the Korean War, he had spent 1 semester at Dallas Bible Institute in Texas studying religious texts and theology. His grandmother, who raised him for part of his childhood and gave him the nickname Ty, was a devout Baptist, and she had a strong influence on his spiritual beliefs. Throughout his career, Hardin maintained his religious convictions even as he worked in the often secular environment of Hollywood. Later in life, after his acting career faded, he would become involved in evangelical Christian activities and even worked as a preacher in Prescott, Arizona for a period. His religious faith informed many of his career decisions, including his choice to turn down the role in A Fistful of Dollars because he felt the violence and language were inappropriate and would have disappointed his Baptist grandmother. On the Bronco set, seeing this Western hero reading scripture between takes must have created an interesting contrast with the rough and tumble character he portrayed on screen. Fact 13. Arrested in Spain for drug trafficking. After Bronco ended in 1962 and Ty Hardin's Warner Brothers contract expired, he moved to Europe to continue his film career, particularly making Western movies in Italy and Spain. For several years, he worked steadily in European productions, living the expatriate lifestyle that many American actors enjoyed during the 1960s and early 1970s. However, in 1974, Hardin's European adventure took a dark and dramatic turn when Spanish authorities arrested him for drug trafficking. The arrest made headlines, as a former American television star was now facing serious criminal charges in a foreign country. Hardin spent time in a Spanish prison, a shocking fall from grace for someone who had been a household name just over a decade earlier. Details about the specific circumstances of the arrest, what drugs were involved, how long he was imprisoned, or whether he was ultimately convicted, remained scarce in public records. What's clear is that this arrest effectively ended whatever remained of his film career in Europe. After his release from the Spanish prison, Hardin returned to the United States, but his reputation was damaged and his acting opportunities had largely dried up. The drug trafficking arrest in Spain marked a low point in a life that had seen tremendous highs during the Bronco years. It's a reminder of how quickly fame can fade and how dramatically someone's life can change after the spotlight moves on. Fact 14. Founded an armed extremist group. The strangest and most disturbing chapter of Ty Hardin's life came years after Bronco ended, when he became involved in far-right politics and anti-government activities. In the 1970s, Hardin had difficulties with the Internal Revenue Service over unpaid taxes. Rather than resolving these issues through conventional means, he founded a tax protest movement in Prescott, Arizona, which evolved into something much more extreme. By 1982, this movement had grown into an organization called the Arizona Patriots. According to government agencies, the group was anti-Semitic, racist, and anti-immigrant, and it stockpiled weapons for what members believed would be a coming confrontation with the federal government. Hardin opened something called the Common Law Institute, essentially a tax protest school, and edited a monthly publication called the Arizona Patriot that printed conspiracy theories and reprinted articles from other extremist publications. The group's activities escalated from filing nuisance lawsuits to clog up court systems to making actual violent threats. In 1986, after a 2-year undercover investigation, the FBI and ATF raided an Arizona Patriots camp and confiscated a large cache of illegal weapons, ammunition, and extremist publications. The investigation revealed that the group had been planning serious crimes, including plots to bomb synagogues, IRS facilities, and other government targets. Several members were arrested and convicted, receiving prison sentences. Hardin, however, left Arizona before he could be charged, and the group soon disbanded. It was a shocking transformation from television cowboy to anti-government extremist. Fact 15. Died. Just weeks after Adam West. On August 3, 2017, Ty Hardin died at his home in Huntington Beach, California, at the age of 87. His wife Caroline told reporters he had been in failing health for several months. The timing of his death created an eerie coincidence that highlighted the divergent paths his life had taken compared to the man who got the roles he rejected. Adam West, who had played Batman in the 1960s series that Hardin turned down, had died just 24 days earlier on July 10, 2017. Both men died within the same summer, less than a month apart, and both had been offered the Batman role, though West was the one who accepted it. The contrast between their two lives and legacies at the time of their deaths was stark. Adam West died as a beloved figure, recognized worldwide for his iconic portrayal of Batman, with fans and celebrities paying tribute to his life and career. Clint Eastwood, who took the role Hardin had rejected in A Fistful of Dollars, was still going strong at 87, directing and acting in films, a living legend of cinema. Meanwhile, Hardin's obituaries had to explain who he was, as most people under 50 had never heard of Bronco. The decisions he'd made to turn down Batman and A Fistful of Dollars, along with his later involvement in extremist politics and his drug arrest, had relegated him to a footnote in television history rather than a celebrated figure like West or Eastwood.